Hi, it's Tracy from Two Rocks Tarot, and today I'm doing a video response of the hashtag Top 3 of Nines by Shamanic Arawak Priestess. So it's basically naming your top 3 magical tools out of a set of 9. So the first category is your top 3 tarot and oracle cards that have had the most impact on you. So it's not necessarily your favorite, but the ones that have had the most impact on you. So I thought I would start with, I'll just move the keyboard out the way. I've got so much stuff on here. Oh, it should be okay. Oh, I don't know. I should have put it over there. We go. Put it over there so I can still get to it if I need it. So I'm going to start with, so I actually started reading tarot and oracle within 2 weeks of each other. So the first one was a Rider-Waite deck, which I no longer have because I gave it away. And the second deck was Titania's Fortune cards. Now this is the second edition, because the first edition that I had of this deck just actually fell to bits. Well, it actually went off, believe it or not. I used to get really, really good readings with this deck, and then they just suddenly stopped. It was all doom and gloom, and it was just really, really weird. So I actually threw them out. It's the first deck I've actually thrown out. So this is the second edition, so I haven't got the first edition anymore. So this is what this looks like. Now I've actually laminated the front and back of this deck, and I have also edged it because the card stock of this is absolute crap. It's just paper. It's nothing else but paper. So if you're buying this deck, make sure you do something to it, because it just won't last. So this is the one that had the most impact, because this is what started it all off. So I started the tarot, and then a week later I found this one in our local Kmart, and I recognised the author's name, and it sort of piqued my interest, and I read this for many, many years, probably, gosh, I don't know, good 2-3 years straight without really touching the tarot. What I actually used to do was, when I read a tarot, did a tarot reading, I would pull out the corresponding number of cards from this particular deck to make sure I was actually getting it right. So to make sure I was getting the gist of what the deck was trying to tell me. So yeah, this really had a massive impact on me. And then when I found out, when I actually told my mother that I was, started to read the tarot, and then she come out and told me that her mother used to read the just normal playing cards in Germany, and she was very, very good at them. But however, she frightened herself. She predicted a death of her, I think one of her best friends, her fiance, right down to the day and almost the time, and it sort of freaked her out, so she gave it away. But I kind of find it interesting that after all these years that I pick up a tarot deck. I mean, what are the odds? So that was, the one that had the biggest impact for me, because that's what started it all. That's what all started me actually reading. So now the next one, it's going to be no surprise. Just I've run out of room. I've got so much stuff on here. Now this particular deck is the Oracle of Visions by Ciro Marchetti. And if you actually follow my channel for a while, you know that I do spirit messages. And this is the actual deck that I do it with. So I actually started this off first on Instagram. I don't even know what made me start to ask if a spirit would like to come forward with a message. I was just, it's just as you do, you try new things, and this is one thing that I was trying. And I had this deck for about 5 years, and I never ever, I didn't resonate with it. I loved the pictures. I thought they were absolutely gorgeous, as you can see, but I just, as far as reading with it, I just couldn't read with it. It just didn't do anything for me. So it just sat on my shelf as it does, and until I decided to do the spirit message. And this deck is absolutely fantastic. Now I can do spirit messages with others decks, and I have done it, but I have to say this is the absolute best one for these type of readings for me anyway. So, and the funny thing is with this particular deck is that when I actually, every time I look at it, it's like there's a new card that's appeared that I haven't seen before. It's really, really weird. So, yeah, so this has had a major, because this was a deck that, that didn't really speak to me until I actually decided to use it for different types of readings. And I edged mine in black as well. It doesn't actually come like that. So that was, quite a bit of impact, because that set the whole ball rolling on my spirit messages, and now spirits come through on my crystals as well. So, it's just weird how things turn out. There's nothing like that in my family, as far as I know, that was ever used to do spirit messages. I really don't know. So my mother is German, so it's hard to, hard to know. The next one that had an impact on me, and this is for a lovely reason, is the saltwater reading cards. And I was actually doing a spirit message, and I think this was back, actually I can't even remember now, when it was last year, it could have even been August, and I've edged mine again. And one of my spirit messages really resonated with one of my subscribers, and she sent me out this deck as a present, and I absolutely love it. So this has got why this impacts me is because when I started doing these readings, I had people, say on Instagram, I think it's such and such, and and that sort of thing. But when I started doing them, of course, I wondered if I was, because I've got a good imagination, I was wondering if it was my imagination running away with me. Was I really, hearing, seeing, sometimes smelling spirits? Was it really true? I wasn't really believing me until she actually sent me an email, reached out and sent me an email, and it ended up being like 6 pages of this reading, and we still keep in contact. We're still good. We've become good friends now, and she sent me this beautiful deck, which I absolutely adore. And why this is so important to me, because it validated that my spirit messages were true, that it was a real thing. Because it was just amazing, all of the things that I've picked up out of this reading, out of one card from that Oracle of Visions deck, and I got all these messages, and it's absolutely amazing. So this deck holds a very, very special place in my heart because it came from someone who's become a dear friend, and it's also because it gave me validation that what I was seeing and feeling and reading in my spirit messages were true. It wasn't the result of a vivid imagination as I was worried about. And I'm sure anybody who starts doing these types of readings will probably would feel the same way. I suppose it's even the same when you start reading the tarot. You wonder if what you're reading is true. So that's my top 3 oracle decks. And the next ones that I've got, and I'll do this one first because this is an old deck that I've had for many, many years now. And I think this is the one that I bought after I got rid of my Rider-Waite. And this is the Hanson Roberts deck. So I've had this for, and the reason why this one is important to me is because it was the first deck, you can see, actually I should edge it because it's really, really grubby, as you can see. Because it's the first deck that I've truly, truly bonded with. Do you know what I mean? When you really bond with a deck and you get fabulous readings from it and things come out in it that you never ever expected. Well, this is what happened with this deck for me. It was just a deck that, was the first deck that I bonded with. So I've never gotten rid of it, and I never will. I don't read with it much anymore, but sometimes, because I do read professionally online, there are clients that I will pull this deck out for because I just know that this is the right deck. I still think it's a lovely deck. I really think it's very, very sweet. It's very, very gentle. It's just, I don't know. It's just a really, really good deck, and I do like, and I'll never get rid of it. But what I'm sort of disappointed with now, though, because this happened, I got this deck when I was fairly new to reading, and I really, really bonded with it. But then I started seeing other decks and I put it aside, and I started using other decks, and I kind of lost that bond that I had with it, which was really, I really regret that, because I don't think it's ever quite been the same. I mean, I could actually, I don't know why, especially now that I can't go out anywhere, I should actually probably try and pull it out again and just work with it for a month or so and see if I get that feeling again. Now this deck had an awful chemical smell to it, and this is out of how you get them tablets, and you get these little dry things in here. I can't think, what are they called? Dry gel. And I did read on a tarot forum that if it has got a smell, to put one of them in the deck, and I tell you what, it got rid of it. It actually got rid of it. It was absolutely amazing. So that's it's always going to hold a special place, because that was a deck that I truly bonded with. Now this particular deck here, which has got a very special one as well, and this is one I've edged in black, And these are the backs. This is the Bohemian Gothic Tarot, and this is the first edition. And the reason why this is special to me, because this was the first tarot deck that I bought out of my own money when I got paid for my tarot readings. So my very first tarot readings that I got paid for, I actually bought this deck as a gift to myself. And I actually got a messenger bag too, that with this particular deck as well, which is really awesome. And I really, really like this deck. This really, really appealed to me because it's kind of strange and many, many layers when you read with this particular deck. There's many, many layers. I love the colors. I love the backs. I like this edition the best. I've brought some other editions out, and I haven't really liked it. In particular, the lovers cards wasn't as good as what this one is. So yeah, this has got a special place in my heart because it was the very first deck that I purchased out of my first tarot reading money. So yeah, I love this deck, the Bohemian Gothic. I truly, truly do. And now for the third one, and this is a weird one. So I've had this deck for around 15 years, and this is the Celtic Dragon Tarot. A couple of years ago, so I brought it and I flicked through the pictures. Didn't really do anything for me, so I put it in a drawer and forgot about it. And a couple of years ago, there was an Instagram challenge about getting in touch with your spiritual guides. And before I actually read this, I pulled out this deck and I put it on my shelf with the ones that I read with regularly. And I thought, you know what, I'll use this deck, I'll grab it. And I tell you what, after 15 years, this deck absolutely screamed to me. So I never got anything out of it. I just couldn't read with it. It didn't do anything for me, and now it is such a chatty little deck. I've bonded really well with it, much like with my Hanson Roberts one. This one is absolutely amazing. And you know what? The cardstock's fantastic. And this is Llewellyn. Llewellyn used to have really good cardstock. Look at that at one stage. Absolutely beautiful. Really, really nice cardstock. Not the case now. Yeah, so this, I have to say, because of having an impact on me, because it goes to show that sometimes when you buy a deck and you don't like it and you don't bond with it, don't throw it out, because it might even take 15 years later and then the thing will start talking to you. So what I've learned from this particular thing is that sometimes we are not ready to hear the messages of what the deck wants to tell us. And because this was so specific, I was working with my spirit guides, trying to, getting in contact with them. I don't think I was ready for that 15 years ago. In fact, I know I wasn't ready for that. It's only been the last probably 3 years that I've been ready to do this type of work. So this was just amazing that, that I had this deck for so long and it never spoke to me. And then, so that's the longest deck, because I had the Oracle of Visions about 5 years, and then I've had this one for 15 years. So that is another, another impact. So the next one was incense, resin, and herbs. So the only resin that I've ever had is actually this one here. It's a ritual incense of the full moon that you can actually, let me make sure I've got the right one. No, that's not the right one. Ritual circle. I think this might have been it. I haven't used it. I think this was the one. Yes, this is the one. Sorry. So ritual incense circle. Now, this is so old, but you know what? It still actually works. So the Mystical Nights. Now, I brought this. That used to be like a what are they called? Kind of like a Tupperware, but it was for all witchy things. It was absolutely fantastic. And I brought 3 actually, but this is the one that you actually burnt, and it was the only one I've actually burnt. And you know what? I only burnt this probably for the first time 6 months ago, and I had this when I was still with my ex-husband, and I've been married now to my second husband for 16 years. So that's how old this is. But I could never get the charcoal discs to burn. And I thought, bugger it, I'm going to try it. I got some charcoal discs, I'm going to try it. And I got it to light up properly, and it smells absolutely fantastic. It really, really does. So these are always kept in a dark drawer. So I have got the ritual incense as well. So that one's supposed to be burning for the full moon. Now, so that's the only 2 resins that I've got, because I could never get the charcoal discs to work. So I should actually start buying some more. So that was that. And as for For incense, well, it's kind of hard because, and I'll just grab my incense box. So this is my incense box. Whoop, there we go. That my daughter made for me many years ago when she was still at school, and she's in her 30s now. But I have to say, I really like the hem incenses, and this is a new one that I haven't had before called Egyptian Musk, and it absolutely smells divine. Now, the same one of the hem, because I need to buy some more, I like, it was Pagan Magic, it was Divine Magic, I think it was called. I'd have to look at the website again to actually see the actual names, but I do remember them. Oh, it could have been Divine Blessings or something like that. Absolutely love Dragon's Blood. Absolutely adore it. Of course, I like the Nag Champ as well. I've got some White Sage for the first time ever, and I have to say I really like that, because I'm not all that fond of the Palo Santo smell. And I've got some now, is it Myra or Mira? And frankincense is another one that I need to get, because I do use that as well. And also the Moldavite one is a really nice one. So that's all that I've got left. I usually have about 20. But when it comes to, I suppose, the top 3, it would probably be my Dragon's Blood, my Nag Champ. No, not my Nag Champ. Dragon's Blood, and I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Divine Magic, or Divine Blessings and Pagan Magic. They were my absolute favorite. I always use them, because when it comes to spell work as such, when I do things, it's very much depends on what I'm doing, and it's much like how I read the tarot. So when I'm thinking of doing some workings, and I'm thinking of all the stuff that I want to do and what I want to incorporate, an incense will sort of come into my mind like that, and that's the one that I'll use. And it's pretty much like when I do readings for clients, as soon as I say their name, a deck comes to mind, and that's what I'll use. And that's how I actually work with my incense. So as far as resins go, that was the only ones that I had. That's the incense. I've also got from the same company some wishing powder and some luck power, which I have actually used in a few spells. But as you can see, I've got lots and lots left, and I've had these for over 16 years. But they actually work. It's a funny thing. It still smells beautiful, and I suppose because I keep them in a cupboard, you know, that's why they've stayed good. So the other herbs that I use in this jar, herbs do not eat. I've got quite a lot in here, and I've got some blue sage. I won't hold them all up, but I might as well. I've got some bayberry. I have got, I think I've kept a little, some rue. Use that a lot, actually. I use that a lot. I've got some eyebright. I've got some, what's this one here? Some elderflowers. I have some chicory root, which I've used that a fair bit. That's good for protection there. I've kept the little tags on it because it's got luck, strength, divination, favours, fragility, I think, invisibility. I've never been invisible. Opening of locks, removing obstacles, and curse removal. So also got some mugwort. I have got some hawthorn berry, which I had to actually get in powder because of WA's strict rules. Got some saw palomento as well. Some red sage root, which kind of looks like that. It's kind of in chunks. Oh, excuse my ring is banging away in there. Some John's wort. What else have I got? Only 3 more. Have got some juniper berries, which is funny. She could send me juniper berries, but not, hawthorn, which is funny. Got some bearberry. And the final one is some bladderwrack, which is kind of very black. So they're the herbs that I use. There is some more that I want to buy. I get them from the Sacred Willow, which is an online store here in Australia. There's other places that I have sourced things like of this nature as well, and I can't for the life of me think what the other online store is, because here in Australia, well, here in Perth, there's no stores like that at all. There's absolutely nothing. When I lived in South Australia, there was, which is really going to sound weird, there was a place called the Reject Shop. So it's like a $2 shop, where you just buy cheap things. But they had lots of candles, and they had lots of, statues and stuff that you could actually incorporate into your actual, into your work. So what I do, and also another thing that I use is salt. So this is pink Himalayan salt. This is actually a little bit too fine. I like to have that more chunkier one. And so if I was making a protective type of salt, I would use, depending what I'm using for, I'd use them herbs and I'd mix them all up. I also use this as an offering when I do work. I usually have some salt and I have some water when I cast. Now I used to cast circles because I used to be Wiccan when I first started. Now I don't actually do that anymore. I just basically go and stand in front of my altar because I've been doing it for so long on the same which I'll show you in a minute. It's just really it's just no matter how long, because I actually had that packed away for quite a while until we bought our own house, and when I unpacked everything you could feel it. Well, you know, the power, you could still feel of it because it's had over 20 years of use, so it doesn't matter. I don't have to actually cast a circle, and I think that's more of a Wiccan thing sort of thing. If you feel protected within yourself, and you are, you know, I always feel protected, so it's not something that I do anymore. So as for curios, oh, I forgot to get it. I'm just going to pause this video and I'll go grab it. Okay, so as for curios, this is something that I used a lot. This is a broom. This is my broom. This is what I actually jumped over, my husband and I, when we got married. And I use this, and this is probably another reason why I don't cast a circle. So I'm going to do a little bit of a demo here. So I'm going to just go back. Woo, back. So basically, you're going to be able to see my head, but basically I sweep all around my area in the circle like this. And I usually say, so I'll sit down now. And then I usually say I sweep all the negativity out and sweep all the goodness in. So I use, I do use the broom, and this is always at my front door. It's actually, there's a piece of black tourmaline that's behind it, and that sits at my front door because that's another protection type of thing. Well, apparently witches used to do is have their broomsticks by the front door. I don't know how true that is, but that's where it sits. The other thing that I use is a wand. So this is just a stick that I got from I think it was the Tingle Forest that was on the floor. So as you can see, it's just, it's very, I like with my crystals, I like raw and natural things to use in my workings. So I do use a wand, and that's what I use. And my hands. My hands are my tools as well. I use my hands a lot in my spell work. So constantly use my hands. So that even though that doesn't, I suppose, come off as a curio, but it's something that I use a lot of, is my actual hands. The next three was oils, and unfortunately I haven't got much oil left, but I keep it in this little box again that my kids made me a long time ago for Mother's Day. But what I have got left, I've got some oil, some clove oil. I used to use that a lot of clove. Well, actually, there's 2 bottles in there. I use that a lot in my workings. And I also used basil and peppermint, and basically whatever I thought that I would need. I used to have a lot more oil, but again, living here, you can't really get your hands on a good quality oil at a reasonable price. There was some at our local, what they call here is Red Dot store, which is a $2 store, and they were absolutely hideous. They were disgusting. There was no way there was natural. But I have noticed there's a place in Malaga that says that they have natural oil, so I should have a look at that. But that's what I used to use when I did have oil. So it's all depending on what I want to do. Of course, my other now we're coming to 3 tools. So I suppose if I'm going to pick 3 oils, it would definitely be clove, it would definitely be basil and peppermint. They were the 3 that I would use the most. And as for tools, I suppose the biggest one, and this is just something that I made myself, and this is my plaque that I keep on the actual altar. So this actual stone is limestone, and this is when I lived in South Australia. There was a big quarry there, and I used to actually have a big massive herb wheel in my front garden made out of huge stones like that. Something that I really, really miss to this day, because there's nowhere I can really grow herbs where I live now. And I used to use, grow like hyssop and really deep, beautiful, almost black, purple basil and all sorts of herbs. And so I made that, and that I use all the time. So if I get a new crystal, I wash it, I bless it in the name of the goddess, I put it on the plaque. If I get a tarot deck, I put it on the plaque, and I just leave it overnight and it's fine. Actually, my husband always teases me and says that I should put my phone on there to charge. Because he said, what are you doing now? And I said, I'm charging. So everything that I feel needs some charging and cleansing goes on that all the time. And I've done that for years and years and years. The other thing that I do use, of course, is candles. So these are called chime candles. I had a lot more in different colours. So, I had oranges and reds and everything like that. And, of course, I got the good old white that you can substitute if you haven't got a coloured candle that you're looking for. So, like, I haven't got any pink or red in here. But I also use tea lights as well. And I have got tea lights in different colours. I find them really, really good. Because candles are another thing I used to get easily in South Australia. But here, and the prices are very exuberant here. They're not cheap. So I haven't really found any candles, and I don't like the dinner candles because they're too long. Because sometimes you want to, particularly here in Australia, it's very, very hot where I live. So you don't want to have candles burning for hours on end. So that's why I like these ones, because they're quick and they burn down within, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or something like that. And it's great because it burns all the way down. So there's nothing left but a stub. And then actually what I actually put them in, oops, I'm going to get my broom if I can grab it. I've got these little candle holders that I've had for years. And because they're actually a little bit, as you can see, a little bit loose in there. So I melt it down in there. But what I also do is I put some of them herbs and I put them in the bottom, and I put some oil. And depending on a spell, if I'm wanting to attract something to me, I dress the candle down like that because I want it to come to me. If I wanted something to come away, I wanted to, I want to lose weight. So if I did a spell to lose weight, well, then it would be up because you want to release it, sort of thing. Some people start right in the middle and do it like that. I start from the bottom, whichever way, whatever, depending on what I'm doing. And then I would put that, I'd melt the ends and I put it in the bottom of there with the herbs and oils and whatever that I want to do. And that's how I actually use that. I'm actually going to buy some proper candle, proper holders. So I don't have to keep burning it. But I'll still always put, that bit on the bottom because that's just the way that I've always done it. So that's my... So my top three, that would be it, is definitely that plaque. I use it for absolutely everything from charging to doing spell work, the candles and my herbs, really, basically my herbs, because I love working with herbs. I really, really do. So the next top three was really, really hard because it was crystals. Oh my God, I love crystals. You all know how much I love crystals, but I managed to choose three. Now, I really, really love mookaite, and this is a piece of mookaite that I've got, and it's just not polished on the back, so you can see how beautiful and deep the colours are. This is a very grounding stone, and it's actually mined here in what range? Well, it's in the Mooka Creek. Anyway, I can't think what ranges they're called, but anyway, it is far from me, but not too far, sort of thing. So, this is a grounding stone, and it's very, very, I've got a few pieces of mookaite now, and it's very, very, because they can only mine a certain bit because of our Indigenous Aboriginal people. Everything has to be approved by them. So how I connect with this is really with Australia, with the Indigenous people's spirit, with their gods and their goddesses. For me, this is really, really, is a really nurturing mothering type of crystal. It's really hard for me to explain it because it's such a good feeling, you know, when you hold it. It's such a grounding crystal and it's so beautiful. It truly is beautiful. I absolutely love all the burgundies and you know, it's gorgeous. It really is. And even looking at all the reds in there too, it's almost like the blood that's been spilt in the name of the goddess. And you know, so many of us have died in the past because of our religious beliefs, and now we are, well, here I'm lucky enough, I know some places, you know, there's Bible belts around the world and that, and you can't be open about how you practice, but it's, you know, it's a lot more better than what it was in the past where people used to get killed for their beliefs. So I know some countries still do, but you know what I'm trying to say. So the next one is a green aventurine. I absolutely love it. And as you can see, I've got a raw piece again. I always have a polished piece in my bra every single day. Oh, don't go home without it. I also got this bigger piece as well that actually Jen from Science and the Soul sent to me. These two pieces are always next to my bed. These are... It's quite funny because when I was learning about the chakras and I found out the heart chakra was a green, I thought, oh, you know, that doesn't sound right. It should be pink, it should be red or whatever. And I was actually looking, but when I first time I touched it, I thought, oh, wow, yeah, it does actually feel like it belongs in the heart chakra area. And once I started working with it more, because I suffer, going through menopause, I suffer from hot flushes. And I had read that sodalite was supposed to be, you know, a good crystal to use for that. Well, that didn't do jack shit for me, to be honest. And when I was doing some chakra work, and I had put a green adventure in it, and I get a racing heart a lot, and that is from the hot flushes. Your heart race, woof, and then, you know, boom, you feel like you're going to explode. I put this piece straight in the middle of my chest, and within a few minutes it calms everything down and I feel cooler. So that's why I always wear a piece in my bra. And I always wear another crystal too, depending on what I'm feeling like. So last few days it's been lepilite that I've been using. So this is really, really good. So if you found out that you get hot flushes and even actually if you're sick, because my husband, of course, caught my chest cold that I've been fighting for the last 3 weeks, and he was burning up in bed. So I put the bigger piece on him because he's a bigger man. And he couldn't believe it. It actually cooled his fever right down. So it's really, really good for cooling. I can't stress that enough. So yeah, every time I hold them, I don't want to stop. And another one is actually a very new one, and it's now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's Vancite, and it's a beautiful apple green. And this is one of the crystals that I brought just before I got sick. So the day before, actually, because I brought them on the Friday and the Saturday I got sick. And this is a really, every time I hold it, I can't put it down. It's so, so nice. And this is really good for repelling negativity, like negative, rude people. And I think it's quite funny that this has come up as we're self-isolating, you know, people are rude and hoarding things and really nasty to retail workers and so forth. And it's funny that I picked this particular stone. And I really, really like it. You know, I just love it. I just love the shape, the colour. It's absolutely, it's just beautiful. So they're probably my top 3. Ones that I'm working with the most, because you all know that I've got lots of crystals and I absolutely adore them all. But as for now, that's what I've got. Now, as for colognes, I don't actually use colognes and scents. So I'm going to add a couple of other things. Now, in saying that, because I know that Shamanic Arawak Priestess is on about Florida water and how much she uses it, it's quite expensive here. It's about $30 a bottle here in Australia to get. So I'm not too sure what that is in US dollars. Probably tack on another, I don't know, maybe $40. I'm not too sure what the rate is. But I got this massive book that my husband brought me when we actually moved over here to Western Australia, and I was reading it on our trip. And it's actually got a recipe in here for Florida water. So there's actually 2. So I'm just going to share it with you because I was supposed to, I think I was supposed to email this and I forgot all about it. So the one version has got 2 cups of vodka or other alcohol, 2 tablespoons of rose hydrosol, 16 drops of essential oil of bergamot, 12 drops of oil of lavender, 6 drops of oil of Mei Chang, which I've never heard of, 3 drops of oil of rosemary, 2 drops of jasmine, and 2 drops of rose attar. So that's, you know, and it does say here that it's only charged water that is copyrighted, and that's the Murray and Landman Company. So that's the one that I know that you can buy, and we can get that in Australia, but like I said, it's very, very expensive. But then again, looking at all these oils and essential oils that you have to put in to make it, and plus the alcohol, and I don't even drink, so I wouldn't want to really buy vodka just to make something, so I'll probably bite the bullet and buy it. But the other one was the same, 2 cups of vodka or other, but this one's got 2 tablespoons of orange flower, water or hydrosol, a tablespoon of turmeric powder, 1/4 teaspoon of finely ground orris root, 12 drops of bergamot, 12 drops of lavender, 6 drops of Mei Chang, 3 drops of rosemary, 2 drops of rose attar, and 2 drops of neroli. So there you go. So that's the yeah, actually, after reading all that, I think I'm just going to buy the bullet and buy it. But this book is absolutely awesome. It's from thousands of years. How many years does she goes back? It's a treasure trove. It's got centuries. So there's centuries of actual spells in here. And what I like about it, they're very, very basic. So, you know, it's got a really awesome name. Listen to the fiery wall of protection, anti-gossip fumigation. So, you know, it's got all sorts of little things that you can make, and, you know, a conjure bag, law keep away spell, heaps and heaps of things in here. It's a really awesome little book. So I thought I'd talk about books. So the books that had a big impact on me was Scott Cunningham's Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. This is really good because it actually had, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it, but where to actually place things on your altar. So, let's see if I can get that on there. But see that? I had no idea when I was walking this path, because I was brought up with no spirituality whatsoever. So everything I've done, everything I've learned has come on my own back. It's everything that I've researched. So I found this guy, and unfortunately he's passed away many, many years ago. He is a wealth of knowledge. I've got another one of his books here. Very simple spells, earth, air, fire, and water. All natural, you know, he talks about the elements. Everything's natural. It's all very, very easy and simple. And that's how I like my spells to be. When I do any work, I like it to be very, very simple. I don't like all this, you know, having to dress up in special robes and, do you know, all that type of thing. I just like to, if I need to do something, to go and do it, you know, and that's it. I used to, you know, pay very particular attention to the times of the day that I did it, what planets were in there. Now, pretty much, I just check what phase of the moon it is, but sometimes I don't even do that, because like the beautiful Deborah Gray, who is Australia's, one of Australia's very famous Australian witch, says that sometimes if you need to do something, it's quite all right to do it all in your head if you have to, because sometimes certain situations call for that. So once I read that, it made me a lot more relaxed. So, but I still recommend him because he's got so many wonderful things. I also brought this book called Sunwise, Sacred Wheel of the Year in Australia. It's pretty good, but it all depends where you live. Since I found the Noongar Wheel of the Year, that's the only one that ever resonated with me, and I've only found that this last year, or last year it was. So it took me many, many years to find a seasonal Wheel of the Year that resonated with me, and that is the one that did it. Actually, I wanted to show this too in tools, and it kind of goes with crystals, and I forgot because it was buried under everything. But this is a crystal grid, and I think it's got the flower of life, I think, on it. But what I like to use this for is that if you are doing any type of healing spell or wealth or whatever it is you want to do, you just print out a picture of the person that you want to do this work on, and then you just, you know, you place their photo. We'll just use this piece of paper underneath. And also you could also just write what you want to manifest. So if you wanted to manifest money, good health, or anything like that, just write it down on a piece of paper. So if it was good health, perhaps you would write it down on a piece of green paper. But if you've only got white paper, it's fine, you know. Sometimes it's fun to get a coloured ink and write it in. So if I was doing a wealth one, I'll just see these pen. I'll just use the little green one there and I'll write what I want on there and put it underneath there. And then I would place what type of crystals that I want for this to help me manifest my wishes. So that is something that I use a lot of too. Now that I'm feeling better, I probably will do something to help try and fight this horrible virus that everybody is going through. But I don't like doing any type of work unless I'm well within myself, because I don't want to have any of my sickness or negative energy being sent out. And the same goes for scents. I don't really work with that either. So I just basically, if you know, I like to just have a shower and you know, just use my everyday normal stuff, and that's it. So I don't really use scents or colognes much, but I think, you know, I'm always open to learning new things and working with new things. So I think I have done it in just under 20 minutes of all my tools and what I actually do use. So this was really, really fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really going to look forward to watching other people's tools of the trade, so to speak. So yeah, so this was really great. So until next time, this is Tracy.